Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope, my name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your coast from the East Coast, the co-host with the most from the coast with the most here on the East Coast on The Rundown. Craig, we do 2A views, conservative news. How was your weekend?
It was actually phenomenal. Had a quite the relaxing weekend. Just got some honeydews done around the house and just kind of relaxed and chilled.
You say honeydews, such as? I mean, you got the fires out there again, don't you?
Yeah, no. Well, there are fires. There's really only one big fire. That's the Yosemite fire, but that's way far south. I think we just started getting some of the smoke in the area today, but that's about 4.5 hours, 5 hours south of us.
Gotcha. Understood.
So we just get the bad air.
You get the unhealthy air.
Pretty much. That's kind of how it works. That's kind of how it works. Yeah,
is it like from the rest of the state all the time? Like Los Angeles got rid of their smog, they sent it to you?
Oh, no. This is the smell of burnt wood. It's what burnt forest. So it's not smog. We do have our own fair share of smog here in Sacramento. It's just not as bad as LA.
Gotcha. And that burnt forest must stink because that's where they put all the trash now, isn't it? Don't they put the trash in the forests?
No, that's actually just that's more in our regional parks and our downtown areas. And our bike trails. That's where you find all the trash now in California.
Understood. And in the
we do have our designated zones for bum camps.
Right. Oh, you can't call them bums. Can you still call them bums? You can't call them bums anymore.
Well, so amongst the first of all, understand this, that when it comes to the homeless population in California, there are a percentage of those who are families. There are a small percentage. There are those who are out because they can't afford to get a place. There's a small percentage of those, but the overwhelming majority are basically drug addicts or have mental health issues, and basically you go to most of these camps and they're bum and junkie camps.
I just love how you slip bum camp in like it's a normal everyday word, and we're not allowed to say it anymore. That's like when you hear you hear a great grandpa slip the N word into a conversation. You're like, whoa, we don't say that anymore, Grandpa. Okay. We don't say that anymore. You know. So
should we call them vagabonds? Hobos?
I like to call them outdoorsmen.
Outdoorsmen. The outdoor living. There we go.
Yeah, the outdoor. Yeah.
They have chosen to live via outdoor. They've chosen the outdoor living lifestyle.
You know how some magazines and newspapers have the outdoor living section?
Yes.
Well, that's your outdoor living section of California.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. I have no idea what to say. Hey, folks, look, if you are watching us, do us a favor. Make sure to drop us a line. Say hello. We're following all your comments. All you got to do is comment wherever you're watching us. Well, that's if you're watching us live. Now, if you're watching a pre-recorded or if you're listening to the podcast, unfortunately, you can still drop us a line. We're just not going to be able to talk about it live. So you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. You can also watch us on OpsLens or Spotify, which, by the way, is the most popular place where people are starting to watch us now is on Spotify. Or you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. But whatever you do, make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, you said if you're watching this pre-recorded, I'm like, wait a second, we don't pre-record. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's for people that watch us later.
Exactly.
We've recorded previous to when we were live. So,
yeah. Exactly. And by the way, I want to give a shout out because we have a comment from a candidate for State Board of Equalization in California, Marie Manvel. I do happen to know she does happen to be a conservative. I have had a chance to talk with her once or twice, but she's watching the program and decided to give us a shout out via Facebook. So I want to make sure to give her a shout out. And there's a link to her campaign website if you want to go check her out. But yeah, she seems like pretty good people. So just wanted to let you guys know. Check it out.
What's her name again? One more time.
Her name is Marie Manvel. I'm sorry, Marie Manvel. Marie Manville.
Manville.
If you go to the
M-A.
Facebook page, the comment, there's actually a link there to her campaign website. And also, I
Oh,
want to say
yeah,
hello
I
to
got you.
Patrick,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Patrick Collins, who is a regular, not just on the program, but listens to the program and hangs out with us whenever we're someplace, whether it's a shot or whether it's a GRPC or whether it's out in Detroit, in Detroit, with our good friend Rick Ector, or in Florida with the folks over there at Florida Carry. Just an all-around good dude. Firearms trainer from Georgia. If you guys are in Georgia, if you're in Georgia, you need to hook up with him because he will. If you got bad habits you need corrected while you're shooting, he will definitely get you on the right path.
He's definitely a bad habit identifier. Let's see. Yeah, Marie's and reason I asked you, Craig, because I've never heard of such a thing called the California Board of Equalization. That must be anomalous to the crazy town where you live. What is that? What is the Board of Equalization?
So the Board of Equalization, if you have an issue with the state when it comes to a tax issue, right? They're the ones who rule on it. So you have someone, maybe you have an issue with, maybe you have a business tax and you've been taxed too much, or they're coming after you for something and you want to protest it, and you want to get a hearing. The Board of Equalization is the group that you go to that helps adjudicate those issues.
Yeah, I've never heard of such a thing on the East Coast, but that at least. Not that I know of, but
it's a group that doesn't have as much power as it used to. It used to be a lot bigger and have a lot more power, but they've decided that they want to neuter it to a certain degree.
Hey, I mean, listen, if they're fighting for the rights of the individual, I mean, okay,
and they to a large degree they are, or at least there are members that are on there that are. So, and
vote for Marie. Vote for Marie Manville.
Marie does seem like she will be one of those fighting for the peoples.
Candidate for member of District 3. There you go.
Yes. So, hey, let's go ahead and get into today's topic, get into the program today. Let's start because, let's start with this one. Now, I don't know if any of you've noticed this, but I noticed this here in California, and I noticed this with a number of different races where the Democrat, in this case, I'll give the example. It had to do with this. In our case, it was the Attorney General's race, where the Democrat actually funded, and Rob Bonta, who is the current appointed Democrat to Attorney General in California, is running for election or re-election, and he spent a boatload of money supporting Eric Early, who is a conservative Trump-supporting candidate. He's a MAGA candidate, but spent a lot of money on campaign ads, hoping that he will wind up winning and or at least being number 2 on the slot so that he can run against him, because he basically believes that this guy cannot win. Well, this is not a new thing. In fact, in Maryland, you have a candidate, Mr. Hogan, who is very, very upset because he believes that Democrats partnered with Donald Trump in order for Dan Cox, who is once again a conservative Republican who supports former President Trump, who supports him. And in this particular case, it was enough to put him over the top for him to be able to win. And Mike, I just want to get your thoughts. Number one, on this strategy, and number two, on the fact that this guy Hogan is whining about it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you lose, right? You look for reasons. That's what losers do when they lose. They look for reasons to show that it's not my fault. It was not my fault. There were other people. That's what a sore loser does, right? The governor there, he's been all kinds of conservative, anti-Republican in his voting. So it was just a matter of time, and by matter of time, I mean the next available election before this guy didn't get reelected. He didn't even get renominated. He's got now delusions that Donald Trump colluded with Democrats to get him taken out of office. Listen, Donald Trump ain't got time to get down in the weeds with that kind of stuff with you. Here's what happens. Another viable candidate comes along. Donald Trump gives him his, his endorsement, and that's it. Oh, and by the way, the Democrats think they can win back the state. They think they can win back the governor's mansion. So they probably put a few dollars into your opponent's money because they know they could beat your opponent. You maybe not so much. That's an easy tactic to follow. Okay, man, that guy there is going to give us trouble. Well, let's give money to his opponent because we could beat that guy. That's as old as the day is long, right?
Well, yes, but here's the thing, and this is the ultimate thing that I think Mr. Hogan is forgetting. Ultimately, money in and of itself does not win elections. It's using that money to promote a message. And guess what message they were promoting? The message they were promoting was that this individual, that Mr. Cox, supported President Trump and supported his policies. He supported strong immigration. He's a supporter of the Second Amendment, and he's a supporter of limited government, unlike Republican Larry Hogan, who, by the way, supported the bump stock ban, who supported increased or universal background checks, who supported red flag laws, which by definition is gun confiscation. So I'm like, look, dude, you cannot get mad because they help promote the fact that there's someone who's actually more of a Republican than you. If that upsets you, tough. Be more Republican, and maybe you won't get your ass handed to you in your election.
Yeah. And that's what happened. And again, I think the Democrat tactic there is that that's as old as even sports fans know that, right, Craig?
Well,
man, I hope we don't have to play them in the playoffs. I hope the other team beats them.
Well, you're right that they've been doing it, but they've done it more this election, and it's more visible, and they're doing it in more high-profile races. Normally, that's something you see in, like, legislative races. It's usually not something you see in, like, statewide races. But they're bold enough because – and here's the other thing, folks. They're just not good enough to – they don't really have anything to promote about themselves, so they have to make sure they have the easiest possible candidate to run against. They know that they're in trouble against Republican candidates.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for them blowing their money anywhere they want to before the real elections.
Well, especially if it's going to give a real conservative a chance. Now, the key is for these candidates, look, you were running as in a Republican was basically a Republican primary. Now, here's what you have to do. The state party has to focus on making sure that the base turns out. Now, as a Republican candidate, you have to start communicating in a way that will get voters, that will get both independents and Democrats to vote for you. I'm not saying change your values. I'm not saying change your principles. I'm talking about how what you believe will address the issues that are important to them.
Yes. That's how you do it.
Right. But, a lot of candidates don't make that shift come the general because in many cases their consultants, Republican consultants, don't know how. They're too used to talking to the base. Well, now you got a shot. Let's see you do it. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking yesterday, I was who I was having a conversation with, but the primaries are probably more important than the generals now. I mean, unless when it comes to the top federal elections, but when you want to get involved with the locals and state races, it's the primaries that are the big ones. That's the deal where you've got to hook and get your votes in.
Right.
If you've got to make it through the primary. After that, then all it is D versus R again.
Right. Well, but there's also a lot of people out there right now who are upset with Democrats. Take advantage of that.
Yes.
Right. About how. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about crime and punishment. Let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about, limited government and what you're going to do to help address inflation to the degree that you can in the office that you're holding. Start talking about those things and pointing out how the Democrats are pushing the exact opposite of what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what, Mike? I just realized I actually skipped the initial item that we were going to.
Maybe you didn't like Led Zeppelin there.
Mr. Zeldin. Well,
I call him Led Zeppelin. Leo Zeldin.
Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, candidate for governor. But this addresses an issue that I think is an example of what we were just talking about here with Dems supporting MAGA candidates. Here you have New York gubernatorial candidates, the one who was attacked on stage and whose attacker was released on his own recognizance. Well, he's come out, and by the way, he's come out and he said, look, he's going to fire DAs who refuse to enforce the law after attacker was released on bail. In other words, what he's saying is all of these George Soros funded DAs who are refusing to actually enforce the law and has, by the way, led to the dramatic increase in both violent and nonviolent and property crime. All of those are because criminals have learned that, whatever counties they are operating in have become business friendly, or at least crime business friendly, and they're like not going to have it. He's like, I'm not going to have that as a governor anymore. And they take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of that state, in this case New York. And if they're not going to do that, then they have violated their oath of office and need to be removed.
I love it. I love this idea. I love that this guy, first off, it's tough. You're talking about a Republican winning a statewide election in New York. And the only way that may happen, I don't know, is if the previous Democrat governor had been relieved or had to resign. Maybe there's a bad taste in their mouth. So there might be a shot for Republican to get in there. But I love the idea that this guy's walking in already talking about telling bad prosecutors, and this probably means other people in state office, that he's going to go up and go, "You fired, get out. You fired, get out." I love it. I love it. Either go with the rule of law or you're fired.
I happen to love it as well. It is definitely a good thing. And it plays right into what we're talking about, because you look at it, you just had a guy get elected mayor of New York because he said he was going to be tough on crime. Well, I think that's what you continue to do, is you continue to focus on the role that crime is playing in the quality of life there for folks in the state of New York. And I believe that if you do that, you got a good shot of winning.
Yet again, you've got Cuomo, who got shown the door, and now you got Hochul up there who's tearing that place apart with going head to head against the Supreme Court and looking like a fool doing it. So there's a shot. New York could pull in a Republican governor here.
Who knows? Let's see. I think it all depends on how. It all depends on if voters are willing to look beyond the R or the D. That's what it's really going to come down to.
Well, and that's the problem. You've got the 2 million that'll vote out of New York City. That's the two you got to get over. The rest of the state can handle it.
Well, and that's the case in a lot of. I mean, if you look at most states geographically, they're majority conservative. It's only a handful of places where the liberals are amassed in large numbers, supporting policies like, putting trans women in female jails, or basically putting men who are claiming to transition to women in women's prisons. There's only one problem with that. You have an instance here that where an individual, a 27-year-old trans woman, was placed to serve 3 decades. A 3-decade long sentence in a female-only prison, right? Well, here's the problem, Mike. Got moved because this trans inmate impregnated two female inmates, because evidently she was a lesbian.
Well, technically, Craig, this is one of those stories where, like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Why would you put this person in there? You and I did a story about another gentleman who raped a 10 or 12-year-old in a fast food place bathroom, and then all of a sudden that dude cried, "Oh, he's a woman. He identifies as a woman," and was getting a look to put into a female jail. Well, here's what happens. Here's what happens, folks. Listen, Craig, I don't care if this was he got raped. Okay, I don't care if the women raped him while in prison. This is the reason you don't do that. This is the reason you put these parts over in this jail and these parts over in this jail, because now you got the state has got to take care of the maternal care and prenatal care of 2 children.
Well, and what's interesting about this is, once again, it's denying science, right? And I hate to say that, and I don't hate to say this. I just find it odd that the left is always about us. Oh, well, you're denying science. You're denying science. Well, How about the fact that, look, we know that science tells us that there are two sexes. There are male and there are female. There are, as an anomaly, and we're talking a very, 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 very small percentage of people that are born with both sexual organs. But other than that, we know that they're male and they are female. And, you know, you want to talk about the idea of gender or whatever, but when we're making decisions about public policy, we need to make sure that we are talking about and looking at science, not feelings. And in this case, feelings got us two pregnant inmates.
Well, yeah, that's because they were feeling something else. They were
they were
feeling
they were feeling something else.
they was feeling the desire. This is what it was. Again, listen, Craig. This could have been, like I said, this didn't have to be him going after the women. The women could have gone after him. But yeah, you can't deny the science. You know, what was I forget the movie? What was it? It was the little Schwarzenegger movie. There, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Yeah,
that's
kindergarten
it.
cop.
That's the end of it. That's how kindergarten cop. There you go. That's how it works. That's how it works.
It's really not that difficult. My 3-year-old gets that.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So moving along, for those of you who have Ring cameras, which is, I believe, owned by Amazon, Ring has decided that when requested by law enforcement, they will actually share the content of your Ring camera. And by the way, let me clarify, not will, they have shared information from your Ring camera with police without your knowledge or consent. Right? That was something that actually came out. Scott Williams was talking with Democratic Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey about an investigation of how Amazon shares data with law enforcement from Ring cameras without consent or even a warrant. Now, Mike, I get it. Some people say, well, you know what? If you're not doing anything wrong, then what's the big deal? I'm like, it's an invasion of. I'm like, you're supposed to have to get a warrant to get stuff like that. Why is a company, a third-party company, sharing my data? Because if it's from my Ring camera, it's my data. Why are they sharing it without my permission?
Here's why, Craig. One, because when you sign up with Ring and you sign up for their monitoring program, which I bet you 95% of the people have, that's how Ring's designed around the monitoring. Because if you don't have the monitoring program, you can't see it on your own phone. You know, like when you see people post Ring videos. Mm-hmm. So if you don't sign up for the cheap monitoring program, you can't do that. So most people sign up for it. And what's happening on those Ring cameras, most people have the cameras like the doorbell cameras, and that's what we're talking about here is the Ring doorbell camera from what we talked about in the story. That's facing external, okay? So that's facing the neighborhood. That's not facing anything that's normally out of the public's view. That's something that's in the public's eye, and you normally wouldn't need a warrant to get. Furthermore, when you sign that agreement with Ring, you agree to let them use that video for whatever purposes of advertisement or whatever. So people have given up their signed away their rights to these videos by agreeing to this contract. Now, again, as I'm reading this applies to the videos out external, okay? Like those front yard cameras, those doorbell cameras. This is not the ones in the house or anything like that. The way I'm reading this story. If you read it differently, Craig, let me know, because that's an absolute no-no. That would be an invasion of privacy.
Oh no, I read the article pretty much the same way. I'm trying to figure out, because now you don't have to sign up for a monitoring agreement in order for the camera to work. Now, for it to actually record and go back and view the videos, then yes, you do. You got to pay. You have to pay for the monitoring. But just
if you want to watch it
for
live,
example, the doorbell to work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, if you want the doorbell to work,
right,
and watch it live, that's free. But if you want to be able to record it at all, then you have to pay for it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That costs you a little bit. That costs you a little bit extra. But I got to believe that someone will eventually offer some legislation that would make it so that they cannot, because here's the problem, folks, and this is what gets me, is they require us to, so it's supposed to be consumer protection. They require all of these declarations, right? You have to approve all of these things in order for stuff to happen. But the reason why they do that is they bury this sort of stuff in all of that paperwork and all of that writing. And they're like, I'm not going to read, 10,000 words in order to approve so that I can make this thing work or I can download this app. And they figure that most people just won't. And they put all sorts of stuff in there. And they basically, what they do is they hide it in plain sight. And that's something that needs to end.
I'm very quickly scrolling through the Ring terms of application as we're sitting here. Still scrolling. It's well over 50 pages long on the full-size monitor. Yeah.
Right.
So
and you're supposed to
read
read all of that before you enact the before. And by the way, you didn't get that till after you've already bought the doorbell, right? So it's not like.
And remember, you're setting it up on your phone when you do it.
Right.
You're not setting it up on your computer. So now they want you to read 50 pages of documents on your phone.
Right. Exactly. I'm calling BS.
I believe you're right. There needs to be a consumer specialty. There needs to be something like a board of equalization to exist in order to keep this kind of thing from happening.
There you go. There you go. Let's not export ideas from California. Let's put a hold on that right now. Okay.
Hey, I'm trying to give a little bump to Maria. Come on.
There you go. All right. The next item, this is one I wanted to make sure we hit real quick. There is a bill currently in the Ohio legislature which would allow. Now, Ohio has passed a restriction on abortion. It's called the heartbeat law, which basically means not after 6 weeks, unless it is to protect the life of the mother. But in this particular case, it would basically allow Ohioans to sue over unintended pregnancy. So if a woman were to get pregnant and find out about it, and it were maybe too late, actually, I don't even know if the bill states that it has to be that if she finds out after she's no longer legally able to get an abortion. But this will allow women to sue men, or let me give the appropriate term, birthing persons, to sue impregnating persons or sperm donors, however you wish to refer those who emit sperm. Whoever impregnated them will allow them to sue them for a minimum of $5,000 plus attorney's fees for unintended pregnancies.
I think this law should be able to go both ways, Craig. I think that the man should be able to sue the woman for not protecting herself during consensual sex. It's a two-way street, folks. You both have to take responsibility for it.
Yep.
So this is obviously kidding. This bill's ridiculous and should be thrown out. But that having a child, consensual sex, birth control, it's a two-way street. It's not something that one party is more responsible than the other for. It's a mutual thing that should be agreed upon. And if it's not, I hate to say you deserve the kid, because that's not fair to the kid, but you deserve some anguish. How about that?
Well, it's funny. And I always, when I taught health / economics one year, one of the things that I focused on as we went into and they always brought someone in from the outside to teach the sex ed class. But one of the things that I would always mention is like, look, if you choose to have sex with somebody, even if it's with protection, understand that protection only reduces the risk. It significantly reduces the risk, but it only reduces the risk. It doesn't eliminate it. So you need to ask yourself, look, anytime you decide you're going to partake in that, this may be someone you could be connected to for the rest of your life as you are co-parenting. So consider that when you decide, if that's something that you want to do, especially at the young age of, as a teenager.
Now, you said something about them not being 100% effective. What are you talking about?
Yes. No. Birth control is not 100% effective.
Condoms are not 100% effective?
No, they're not. Especially if it's been sitting in
there.
their wallet for months. They do fail. They're statistically they are 98 to 99% effective in preventing pregnancy.
They should print it on the box or the label or something then.
Well, but that's part of the lie that they teach. It's not safe sex, it's safer sex. They're not even really honest with kids about that because they're afraid, well, if we say that there's still a risk, then we're afraid that they won't bother using them. Well, I'm like, those that aren't using them, they're just not going to use them. They're, you're not dissuading anyone from using them.
Well, I just, if it's not going to be 100% effective, they should print that on the label. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, on that note, let's move on to our. We have actually more than a few parting shots for today. The first one has to do with our president and his assertion that, well, I'll pull it up and let you see it. Brandon, you know who we're referring to when we talk about Brandon, right? Right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon says he can't control gas prices, but the weather is something he can fix.
Yeah, this guy's a tool, right? I don't know what else to say. By the way, if you believe he can't fix gas prices, then that makes you even worse. Folks, you notice how we're coming into the election cycle? Have you seen what's going on with gas prices recently? Mm-hmm. I want you to think back to any time in any election, any cycle ever. Gas prices rise up shortly beforehand, and then right as the election comes, the incumbent drops them down. It's a standard practice every 4 years, sometimes every 2 years, if the legislative cycle is going bad enough. But for that president's party during the midterms, every 4 years you see this, and every 2 years, if the midterms are going bad, you'll see gas go up 8 months out, and about 2-3 months out, they drop it down.
Yes,
we're in primary time.
For those of you who are wondering, those of you who are happy to see that gas prices are down 90 cents, no, they're actually up $2.10. It's actually still up.
It's manipulated. It's manipulated. They rose it up, and now they're going to rise it. They're going to drop it down another 30-40 cents before we get to the rest of the election. So
exactly, and it's, by the way, that's not an accident. And that, by the way, leads me to the next thing. We're actually I keep wondering when we're coming to the end of the January 6th show, because that's really what it is. It's a highly produced. It's a highly produced program. It's funny because the other night, Colbert and I forget whoever else he had on there was like, "Wow, like this is what they need to do. This is really entertaining. This is how they need to do all the hearings." And it's amazing how they're united in purpose, that you can't have that when you have, people from both parties involved. It's like, yeah, witch hunts are actually made to be very dramatic. They're made to only show one side of the story and all of the information, not provide all of the information. That's kind of how a witch hunt goes. That's how you get motivated to burn the witch. But I like this meme that kind of goes with it. It says, "This is why I don't care about January 6th. And it shows all the violence and the fires that took place during the summer of love that was the George Floyd riots. It was amazing because unlike January 6th, people actually died as a result of this. Property was millions upon millions of dollars of property was destroyed. Thousands of police officers were attacked and injured. Once again, all as a result of January 6th. But you won't hear them say anything about that. They won't put anything out there like that. But it's, that's why you got the person there at the bottom with the I don't see that eye drops. That's the liberal media. That's the left. Those are the folks who don't want to talk about any of this stuff.
Very true. Very true.
All right.
Some townspeople fought back, but for the most part, it was, mostly peaceful riots.
Right. Mostly peaceful riots. Hey, let me give a quick shout out to Portia Stewart, who's watching us on Facebook, as well as Alexis M.A.D., who's watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure, encourage your friends once again to do the same. And with that, we got one more parting shot. This was one that I just came across, and Mike, you being, a part of the military, I just figured that, and old enough to actually know who this guy is, I figured that you would appreciate this one. You want to point out who that is?
That's Jamie Farr from it's Corporal Klinger from MASH. Just think, today he'd get a promotion and be invited to speak at the DNC. By the way, another little tidbit of trivia: Jamie Farr, the only veteran that served during the Korean era of the MASH television show.
Really? I did not know that. And
Yep.
by the way, he is donning what appears to be a salmon dress with a matching
I
hat
think
and
that's
white
that's
handbag,
chiffon.
along with his rifle. Would you say it's a chiffon dress?
Everybody knows that he wore chiffon. Yes.
Yes.
He wore chiffon. Yeah.
And he did so
He's
so
got
that
you can
he
see his
could,
Adam's apple too.
yes, he did so because he was trying to get discharged from the military. And needless to say, he failed. But anyway, it's a very fun. It was a very fun character on the program. But yeah, nowadays he would probably get a promotion. He'd probably get promoted to general, and once again would be asked to speak at the Democratic National Committee.
Yep, there you go.
All right. And we have finally come to the moment that everyone has been waiting for, a shout out to our sponsors.
Hey, let's say hey to our good friends over at uscombatgear.com, the California Republican Assembly, the Guerrilla Machining, and Grid Defense. All great peoples. Make sure you reach out and contribute with your dollars.
All right, folks. Once again, very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing. And, well, hey, folks, encourage your friends to do the same. We're here every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and, you know, the time zones in between. But check us out, and once again, encourage your friends to do the same. And with that, we're going to call it a day, and we will see you tomorrow on Taco Tuesday.